My name is Terry Ray Crawford, and I retired as a Senior Chief Fire Control Technician, guns. Anyway, then somewhere along the line we were supposed to be in Malta for that Christmas, and the ship was reassigned home ports to Pearl Harbor, Hawaii for duty in Vietnam. Went down through the Panama Canal and changed home ports to Pearl Harbor. I think it was our first Westpac cruise. We went straight to the Philippines, to Subic Bay. Then we did a gunline tour in Vietnam. Well, as far as I could tell, we were well within the 12-mile limit. We could actually see vegetation and the impacts and so forth, so we were relatively close. Again, I was a young sailor. I wasn't in charge of that, so I just did what I was told. Well, it changed from time to time. I started out as a stereoscopic rangefinder operator, but as long as the radar worked, I really didn't have an assignment. I was there in case the radar stopped working, that sort of thing. I served as a director pointer, rangefinder operator. On occasion, I would serve as a range keeper on the Mark I able computer. That sort of thing. And, usually fire missions were controlled by a spotter. Whatever rounds were fired, we would be given offsets to correct the fire. So it was hard for me to determine how accurate initial rounds would be. I know that whenever we had sled shoots for practice, it was pretty accurate, but still you would require someone to spot us on. The only time I ever had any indication of what the targets were is when I was operating I'm trying to remember what it was called, I was in CIC, and it was a grid spot converter. That's what it was. When we're converting grid coordinates from what we hear on the beach, the Marines would call it in and so forth, when they were trying to redirect fire. On occasion, you could hear descriptions of what, trucks in a convoy, what have you, but nothing really specific. I was fortunate enough to where we never received any enemy fire. Of course, I understand just prior to my joining the Kepler, it was actually hit. I'm sure one of the other interviews had some extensive information about that. Us personally, I don't recall us ever receiving any enemy fire. We did serve behind the, I don't know if it was the Ranger, but we did some plane guard duty. I don't remember the names of the carriers. I know that later in my career, I know I was on plane guard detail in the battle group for the Ranger. I think we visited Hong Kong after that, and then was back on the gun line. Intermittent between that, rearming and restoring and at sea and so forth, and then back to Subic, and then back to Pearl. Well, it was a fairly tight-knit group, considering the ship was only so long and only 50 feet wide. I mean, you had to. The mess decks was probably the main point of concentration of people during the movie time. Back in those days, we didn't have DVDs or anything like it. It was all reel-to-reel films and so forth, so we'd all have to congregate in the mess decks, and everyone smoked, and you could cut it with a knife. Actually, the only places we went were Westpac that I recall. I mean, it was we were either at home or we were headed back and forth between Pearl and Subic and Hong Kong and the coast of Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin.